Welcome back to the Jyotish Project. My name is Sachin Sharma, and this is Lecture 7. Who can you trust to learn Jyotish from? This is part of the How to Study Jyotish series, and I'm really excited for this one. Let's get right into it. So, the objective of this lecture is to navigate the confusing modern landscape of Jyotish teaching, which has become the Vedic astrology or just another astrology kind of thing. This lecture explores the crisis of authority, how to discern genuine teaching from performance, and what it means to receive knowledge properly. We examine why Jyotish cannot be learned like other subjects, the signs of a real teacher, the limits of self study, and how to build a meaningful relationship with the teaching lineage. So, I'll do my best to explain these ideas and sort of start a dialogue, a discussion with you. So, the overview, this is the six sections we're going to cover: the Guru crisis, the too many voices, why learning Jyotish isn't like learning any other skill, signs of a genuine teacher, which is mainly teaching over performance, the problem with self study, how to build a relationship with a teacher, and what it means to receive knowledge properly. So let's get right into it. So, the guru crisis. So, this we are all sort of aware of, familiar with. The word guru has been hijacked, misused, and totally distorted at the moment. Though there are teachers throughout the world who are doing their best to restore the sanctity of this word, and not just this word but the role, the actual meaning, the purpose, the point of the whole thing of having a sort of a guru. So we are living in a paradox. Never before has there been so much access to information in general, but information about Jyotish especially, and never before has it been so hard to find someone worth learning from. And part of this lecture is that it comes from a lot of personal struggles and pains with different kinds of teachers. And part of it was me not being a sincere student. So the teachers that I would manifest, the teachers that would appear, would also not be that sincere. Or there was just the market is such, there is so much distortion, and usually the people who are involved in these kinds of disciplines are also not aware of their own blind spots and stuff. So now we have so much of information and so much going on in this world, but it's just so overwhelming, so confusing for the students. So part of this lecture, the effort is to clarify that, to give some sort of orientation so that we can start moving in a certain direction, so we at least know how to think about these things. So YouTube, Instagram, Telegram, podcasts, PDFs, AI generated horoscopes, all are claiming to teach, all offering insights, all promising access to truth. So there's so much information that can be generated. One can fake wisdom, one can fake depth, one can pretend, curate through, especially with the help of AI. Everything can be, you can pretend to understand, know subjects and stuff. And yet most students are feeling lost even though there's so much going on. Everyone is feeling so lost. I as a student feel so lost when I open up YouTube or try to research these certain kinds of topics. So this is obviously not because there's a lack of information, but because there's no anchor, there's no grounding force. This is the guru crisis. Too many voices, but no gravity, no center of gravity. And gravity is that guru tvakarshan, the Sanskrit word, which is the mass, heavy objects attract towards itself. Too much performance, not enough transmission. Performance meaning content creation, clickbait, uh, and so much, you know what I'm talking about. Too much branding, not enough tapas. So there's no personal practice, personal struggle, personal sadhana, personal process that one is going through. It's more like a business like approach to things. And it's interesting because sometimes I get, uh, rarely though, I don't want to sound, some people approach me, certain business people approach to um, add an astrology related thing, AI astrology related thing, and they have no relationship to astrology, don't feel anything for Jyotish. They see an opportunity, and probably that's their role, and it helps because that's how the information would reach everyone. But that's okay. But when the Jyotishi themselves become business people, they can use a business person, a business mentor, and create a business and share this knowledge and make it a sustainable, profitable thing. But when they're not grounded in any kind of practice of their own, the knowledge gets very distorted. The same is true for psychology, psychoanalysis, psychotherapy, these kinds of the field that we are in, the idea around well-being of different kinds, physical, emotional. So anyone can claim expertise. Anyone can post a prediction, recite a shloka, or assemble a chart, but that does not mean they embody the darshana. They don't even see it like a darshana first and foremost. They see it like just another astrology for predictions and stuff. Occult sciences and these kinds of words are evoked. So in Jyotish, authority cannot be claimed. It must be earned, received, and transmitted. So traditionally, it was very different. Now we don't have that. This meant initiation into a parampara, and the guru used to be enlightened or to some realization, some sort of samadhi states were accessed. There was some stability in the manas of the student. The moon was stable. There was some karmic clarity, some cleanse. A person wasn't so tormented by their psychophysical stuff. Something was there which is now a bit lost. So a lineage, but not traditional mundane lineages, which we also have. I'm talking about real lineages, a proper stuff. So we need a rationalist now, because of the lack of lineages, lack of transmission from those who have realized Jyoti to whatever degree. We need a rationalist, non worship oriented, non spiritual approach to this subject so that we don't manipulate, we stay grounded, and we can actually turn this into some sort of science that people really want these things to become. I would love it to be so, but it's not at all at the moment. And ground this whole thing into something where meaningful study and dialogues can take place. Right now, a lot of religious and not religious in the sense of proper real religion, but the socio-cultural religious ideas, identity and emotions attached to that identity get evoked, and people get violent in dialogues and debates and stuff, and there's no room for open dialogue, openness. People have given so many sessions using wrong techniques, giving wrong guidance. So, self reflective work at that point is very difficult because you're so far out into the process that you've sold to people that it's very hard to get return from that and sort of restart your journey in some sense. Because yeah, so that's the crisis. We have so many gurus today. It might mean something less formal but no less serious. So a commitment to study over time, that's what we need. A sincere relationship to source texts and living teachers, an inner alignment to what is being studied, a life shaped by discipline itself. So these are some basic things that we need. Without these, what you have is spiritual performance, spiritual egoity. And this idea of spiritual also is, what is spiritual? Everything is this is for lower rungs of creation. Probably we are spiritual beings. For us, there are higher spiritual beings. So it's just relative in that sense. Everything is fundamentally organized by metaphysical uh, entelechy of some sort. So astrological theater is a game of borrowed phrases, speculative conclusions, and so the student, overwhelmed, sincere, and eager, doesn't know where to look. So I really empathize with the student within myself who was lost, and my effort comes from my personal pain of not finding the right kind of teachers. So as I would begin teaching more of Jyotish, my thing would always be to fill those gaps. It was quite a frustrating experience over the last 10 years with different moments. I still found better teachers and they really helped me out. but there were gaps, big gaps, which really made the process much longer, and the pitfalls were many. So it just you just are trying to figure out. You're not instructed fully. The whole system is not, the proper instruction isn't being given. So they try a bit of everything. We as students, we try a bit of everything. We get pulled into 10 different directions, and eventually we feel like giving up. And I've seen this so many times in myself. There have been moments where I was studying, I was on a different good track, and then 3 to 4 months there's no connection to Jyotish, or 6 months sometimes there's no studies happening. Just certain ideas are being regurgitated. That spark gets lost. Probably there are obviously Jyotish reasons for that itself, and it's required. It has its own purpose, but it's also sometimes because of this overwhelm and lack of connection to the subject matter, because the way it is being taught. So this isn't our fault as students. It's the natural result of a broken transmission system, and a natural result of a system that is really subtle and trying to pull itself together. The texts have been burnt, lost. The vidya is to be received in a different fashion, and yeah. So whatever. So let this lecture ask these three questions. How do we restore discernment, viveka, not discrimination? People translate viveka as discrimination. It's not discrimination, it's discernment. At least that's how I define it. How do we identify a real teacher, and how do we become students who are ready to receive? This is very important. This is one of the biggest things, that the capacity to wield a weapon depends on the strength of the wielder, the strength of the wrist that's going to wield the sword. So the teacher can be really great, but a lot of the times, so if you find yourself wielding a teacher who is deceptive, who is not aligned with the subject, or just trying to take advantage of you, not giving enough, not benevolent, not forgiving, and whatever, like whatever the things we would expect our teachers to have, uh, one must immediately move and uh, identify that in the teacher and move, and also see what kind of sincerity is required. And I went through this process of really, really bad teachers, actually. This was 2014, 15, 16. They were terrible teachers. 17, things started to recover, get better. 18, I really sort of got grounded in proper learning, more serious, disciplined studies. So, why learning Jyotish isn't like learning any other skill? So, in the age of self paced courses and online certifications, it's easy to assume Jyotish can be learned like any other subject. Certifications can give us a sense of grounding and validation from the teacher or someone we respect and look up to, which is amazing. We should definitely get that. And self paced courses are amazing. They let us absorb the material and go with the flow. But what happens is we watch a few lectures, we read some books, practice on a few charts, and eventually feel that we are proficient. But Jyotish doesn't work like that, because Jyotish isn't just knowledge, it's sight, it's perception, it's qualitative. It depends on the nature and the condition and the evolution of your own consciousness, your own depth, your own insight. To what degree have you grasp things, and have those things are not just knowledge, regurgitating small talk knowledge, but they've entered your heart. They reverberate from a different place. So Jyotish is not about accumulating more information, it is about refining the seer itself. And that refinement cannot happen outside of relationship, rhythm, and responsibility. And relationship, I mean relationship to colleagues, students, life, teacher. Rhythm means consistent study and over a long time, so that you should have seen enough transits of different grahas, of sun season observations, Jupiter transits, Saturn transits, which takes time to sort of fully sink in, and responsibility, which is the sense of when you are encountering something within yourself, you're not coloring and projecting onto it and taking responsibility for your own prarabdha, some of it which would be distorted and not nice. Some of us are not nice people. I'm not that good a person. Then we have to accept. our flaws and the shortcomings we have. Maybe we are violent and we justify our violence. Maybe we are deceptive and we justify our deception. And they will be in the chart, in the birth chart. And when we witness that in the chart and we see it in ourselves, we have to take responsibility for that and begin practicing yamas, niyamas, pratyahara, and all of these things to whatever degree possible, and cultivate ourselves as a human being. So we don't just learn Jyotish, we become a different kind of person, slowly through exposure, correction, contemplation, and return. So this is why traditional learning happened under the guidance of a teacher. And this teacher was ideally a guru, but now even a decent teacher is also good enough. Not because the teacher held secret information, but because the teacher held the space for transformation. So community is important. And I'm going to share something about that. It's something that I'm planning to start. And that's a community of some kind where some discussion, a classroom environment helps, really helps. And yeah, so in a real learning environment, you're exposed to knowledge at the right time. You're prevented from misusing concepts prematurely. And course correction is given, and the proper definition has to be given by the teacher. Your ego is softened through repetition and refinement and through making mistakes. You're reminded again and again of why you were studying and how complex it is and how humbling it is to contemplate the plan of the this metaphysical plan of life. So without this, what often happens is a rush to technique before orientation. So you rush to apply in the chart and try to understand yourself before you've fully oriented yourself philosophically and grounded and built up the basic ideas and concepts. The Venus would be, oh, Venus is desire. But every graha has a desire. Venus is fulfillment, satiation, devotion. Venus is not desire. Mars has a certain kind of desire. The whole chart is desire. This is realm of desire. Sun itself is expanding outward out of this desire to experience reality more, being more lost. So we have to reorient our understanding of these basic ideas and build from there so that we can be philosophically more grounded and clear. Overconfidence fueled by partial understanding, which is the what's it called, the Dunning-Kruger effect. So you learn a little bit and you think you know everything about the subject, and then the humbling process starts, and then you sort of the graph goes down, and then you go in a stable sort of steady fashion and move upward slowly. But initially you learn a little bit and you start opening charts, you start counseling and guiding people, and you're misguiding yourself and others, and it's a painful thing, and then you can get lost in that, because to accept that one has done not a good job, having gone out far out too much, and it's hard to return from that. Misapplication of principles in service of ego, projection, and performance. And Jyotishis are like claim to uh, when they predict something correctly, they make a big deal out of it, and when they predict something incorrectly, they become completely silent. They don't want anyone to notice that. Those videos get deleted. It's a mess. Confusion, collapse, and eventual cynicism. So this also happens. You get confused, and eventually Jyotish is that it's just not for me. It's just the wrong kind of. I don't know. It's not making sense, and eventually you're just like, what's the point of these kinds of things? I'll just devote myself to Krishna or Jesus and just focus on that. And Jyotish is just this waste of time. So these kinds of ideas start entering when we don't approach the subject matter and have the right kind of learning environment. So who should we trust is what we're trying to understand. So when people ask, "Can I learn Jyotish on my own?" which is a genuine question, I tried also. The answer is you can begin alone. You should, in fact, you cannot complete. You cannot complete alone, because Jyotish is not just a subject; it is a path, and every path that leads inwards eventually requires a mirror. So you need a reflection, a mentor of some kind is super, super, super important. Someone who sees clearly enough to help you see yourself. And most Jyotish teachers don't have the time and energy for that. And they don't even have the acumen for that. And it's hard, and it takes longer. And even the students are very insincere and disrespectful a lot of the times, and try to over sort of uh, misuse the teacher's goodness and kindness a lot of the time. So teachers become more protective to about their time and energy. So there's this imbalance. There's the value systems and the social grace is lost, and the teachers becomes unavailable, or the students become uh, uh, sort of uh, get into a conflict with the teacher, and all these psychophysical disruptions start coming up, which is part of the the part of the structure of the psyche. So yeah, one has to accept that, but also try to navigate it, try to make it better. So I'm starting, yeah. So this is the good part here: the Jyotish project, courses, contemplation, community for those seeking to learn Jyotish. So I'm starting a community on Mighty Networks, and this plan will give you, it's a $69 per month plan. I'm gonna add, you'll get access to all courses, beginning with this course that I'm starting called Parashara Graha Sutras. So the moment you sign in, you get for the first module. And as you study through the first module, I'm going to keep adding more classes through and through. There are going to be many, many classes, many subjects, many philosophical discussions in this community. There will be a monthly live sutra session and guided contemplations where we will do a live call where we will discuss a sutra which is Jyotish related or related to the literature, Sanskrit literature, and contemplates and land those ideas into the metaphysics of Jyotish. There will be monthly Q&A calls to deepen our understanding and clarify doubts. All of this wasn't available to me when I was studying, and it was not good. I really wanted these things to be there. And it comes from that pain. And I want to be more as available as I can, and help out whoever is interested in Jyotish, wants to learn Jyotish as much as I can. Also, you will get a $69 discount on any of the Search and Such and astrology services if you are part of the monthly membership. You'll also get a free copy of the Ologies of Jyotish ebook, which is worth $20. So immediately once you become a member, you will also get this ebook. It is a non-refundable thing. You can cancel your membership, but it's if you subscribe, and then might as well sit through the month, wait for a few classes and see, connect with it. But refunds wouldn't be possible. You get the ebook and all of these things anyway, and it's a focused ad-free space for sincere students of Jyotish. So it also, this community would also would not have any advertisements or any kind of thing. So that's why I'm using this platform to create this. So here, this plan gives you full access to Jyotish Project Community, a contemplative, structured, and Shastra-rooted learning space for sincere students of Jyotish. As a member, you'll receive ongoing access to all core courses as they get added, beginning with Parashara Graha Sutras Part 1. Module 1 of that is already live, along with monthly live sutra study sessions and monthly Q&A calls, which is super important, and a dedicated discussion space to engage with fellow students. You'll also receive a $69 discount on any astrology service via Search and Such in Astrology, and a free copy of the Ologies of Jyotish ebook. This is not a course platform, it's a study sangha, a community, a place to slow down, refine perception, and live into the vision of Jyotish as a way of seeing, being, and becoming. So I'll put the link in the description and you can check it out, and you're most welcome. And if you have any questions about it, you can email me at sachin@searchandsachin.com, and I'll be there. I'll try to answer all your questions about this. So now let's get back to the lecture. Signs of a genuine teacher. So in a world full of astrologers, influencers, coaches, and self-proclaimed gurus, it's easy to be impressed and misled. So please be supremely skeptical of me, also of everyone who is teaching these kinds of things, of everyone in this field. So what makes someone worth learning from? It's not charisma, not confidence, not accuracy. It's simply actual teaching. Actually, what are they teaching me, and how does it help me? Does it work? Does it resonate? That doesn't mean they're perfect. It means their words are not separate from their way of being. And they're simply, again, actually teaching you something. That's the point. Their understanding has been earned through years of studies, practice, and inner confrontation, and it shows up in how they speak, how they correct, how they doubt, and how they guide. So naturally, This has to be noticed and get away if you don't feel it. And even with me, as I'm, though I don't call myself a teacher, even me as a student sharing my notes with you as a student, be wary, be skeptical, and ask questions and try to have a dialogue as much as possible. So, what are the signs? So, here are some grounded markers of a trustworthy teacher. They orient you towards perception. They're not trying to impress you with results, which is also part of it. It's also important. Just delivering results and trying to impress the student is part, it's natural to the human condition. But they're also inviting you to see more clearly about yourself, about time, about life. They speak from a grounded philosophical structure. Their teachings have internal coherence. And how would you know this? You'll ask questions and you'll get an answer, and they are open to a dialogue as deep as possible. And when they are stuck at somewhere with your question, they would admit it. They name the limits of their knowledge, the fourth point. The moment they get stuck, they'll be like, yeah, I don't know the answer for this. And we could figure it out together. Or Jyotish hasn't figured this out yet. So you can trace their ideas back to something deeper, a text, a system, a philosophy, not just personal opinion or aesthetic flair. They don't rush to answers, they allow space for ambiguity, contemplation, and contradiction. They don't force certainty, they guide inquiry. The idea is to have more dialogue. They name the limits of their knowledge. They don't pretend to know everything. This is one thing I learned from one of my teachers was the moment you don't know something, just act, it's okay. Why should you know everything? They live the system, even if quietly. Their life reflects the values, rhythms, and insights of Jyotish to whatever degree possible. They don't position themselves as an authority. A real teacher doesn't make you dependent. They help you develop your own discernment, your own connection to the system. They know their role is temporary, to help you see, not to be seen. Their qualities aren't mystical, they're human, observable, and built through effort. So we want to always ground our study in Jyotish in rationality, dialogue, reason, logic, and never claim to knowing, just knowing something and intuitive insight and things like that. We want to use the internal vocabulary and internal logic of Jyotish. So if you find something with even three or four of these traits, stay close to that. We want to avoid with blind devotion. We never want to do that. We never too much reverence. Don't inflate a person, a teacher. Don't go to too much reverence. Though sometimes we feel so inspired that we feel a sense of devotion towards someone, but regulate that and try to have let reality test them. Let your relationship with the teacher, with the study, go through seasons, go through a year of seasons and cycles, and go through the process, and then see where you find the resonance with the teacher. So but with sincere relationship, and if you don't find them yet, you haven't found them yet, start by cultivating these traits in yourself is one thing. So then, even if you're self-studying this subject, and then your relationship and the teachers, the books, even teachers in the form of books would the quality of that would go up. You'll become a better student, and when the time is right, the right voice will feel unmistakably different. So you'll immediately recognize that teacher that's the right fit for you. So, the problem with self study and when it works. So, many serious students of Jyotish today begin by teaching themselves, not out of arrogance, but because they don't know who to trust. And also, not just who to trust, but there are no sort of formalized accessible sources a lot of the times. So they piece together PDFs, videos, courses, sutras, what we've been talking about in the previous lectures, technique scavenging, just wanting something to make the system work. And we see even comments like this on YouTube. I have fifth house, Rahu in fifth house, opposite this graha. Tell me something. Right? This first of all, that's not the right way to even ask a question, and not even the right question. And Jyotish is not about these kinds of, like, you have to really study the system, and it doesn't work in this way. I'm sorry to say, forgive me if I'm wrong, like that, correct me also if I'm wrong. So they built insights slowly on their own. They often do develop something real. So let's be clear though, self study is not the problem. A lot of people progress well sometimes with self study, they find the right resources. Unguided study is. So there's a difference there. Self study, when approached with humility, rhythm, and alignment, can be so powerful. Why? Because it teaches us self reliance, sharpens our questions, and allows insight to arise from within, not just from instruction and suggestion. But it comes with inherent limitations, and some limitations which really will destroy sort of your relationship with Jyotish. Even I had to unlearn what I learned in the first 4 years under broken teachers, and then relearn everything. So you can't always see your own blind spots. You may misinterpret core ideas without knowing. You may reinforce habits of control, projection, or overreach. You may confuse personal insight with universal truth. You lack correction, which is often the most important ingredient in refinement. So, first, you have to question the teacher, have a dialogue, and then build a trust in the teacher. That's what Rishi Parashara says. You have to have you have to have Shantaha Guru Bhaktayaha, which is you need to be a bit peaceful and you need to have some kind of bhakti, some kind of devotion towards your teacher. But that has to arise from your heart naturally through trust. After having questioned the teacher and the teacher having tested the student, a relationship has to cultivate gradually over time, not forced and overwhelming in that way. So, over time, self study without correction can calcify. The seeker becomes clever but ungrounded, sincere but scattered, passionate but isolated. And all of these things happen to me. Came clever, ungrounded, scattered, and isolated. And this happens in Jyotish and these kinds of internal arts kind of disciplines a lot. That's why even the most independent students eventually need relationship, a dialogue with a community, with a teacher who have the same kind of purpose. It is not necessarily to a single teacher, but to a source of reflection, a mentor, someone who can say, that's not what this means, and this is why. You're skipping a step. Sit with this a bit longer. You've seen enough now. Let's test it. These are not restrictions, they are not controlling things. These are acts of protections, and they give more pace. They speed up the process a little bit. So when does self study work? When it is paired with clarity of intention, return to source texts, reading Sanskrit, reflective journaling and documentation, so important, repetition, not just collection, repeating, revising, and smriti, which is the memory bit, readiness to be corrected when the opportunity comes. So wanting to be corrected and constantly, like how I keep saying, what is Jyotish is a question that I can't stop asking myself. What is Jyotish? Even the first video on this channel is about that, and then I keep repeating that to myself because I want to be corrected, because there are things that I don't understand about this discipline. Self study can take you far, but it will always reach a ceiling. The moment you feel that ceiling, don't assume you failed or the work is done. It simply means you're ready for something deeper now to break the ceiling. And breaking the ceiling, you need someone on top to pull you up sometimes and take you to the next level. It can just be a suggestion of a book which would sort of switch your understanding about things, or a sutra in Bhagavad Gita, which really unlocks something about manas, or something about Sankhya, which takes you to the next level, or a connection to Ayurveda. All the things the teacher has seen or contemplated, and it can just sort of pull the student up. It's not about more knowledge, but a relationship with the teacher who can cultivate the knowledge into depth, right? So that's that. And now, how to build a relationship with the teacher. So, this is important. So, knowledge isn't just passed down, it's transmitted through relationship. So, this is what's meant by parampara, a lineage of teachers and students through which the original insight is kept alive, refined, and protected to whatever degree possible. But in the modern world, lineage often sounds like a rigid hierarchy. It's not. A lineage is not about control, it's about continuity of vision. And a lot of the times these structures do become rigid and a lot of politics starts getting played out, and we all know how these things go. But what we'd want is openness to change and dialogue and conflict in the most productive and the most peaceful manner. So, a paradox there, a peaceful conflict, a productive, sincere, open, skeptical space. So, but in the modern world, lineage has become rigid, right? So, to study within a lineage means to be in a relationship with a field of understanding, a living thread that connects through thought to experience, technique to purpose, and intellect to embodiment. So, thoughts and ideas to someone who's like, yes, I've experienced this. I have these example charts for this. Technique to purpose. So, it gives a proper orientation that why are we even doing this? The telos of this, the goal of this that we discussed in previous lectures. Intellect to embodiment, not just intellect heady sort of things where you just ideas, but it's embodied learning. You can practically observe them in your physical body, just through by means of Ayurveda and stuff, which gives a more psychophysical um, way to ground your Jyotish understanding. So you can observe things in your body, in nature, in seasons. So, how does one build a relationship with the lineage, especially in today's fragmented context? Just four basic things, and comment below. Like add to whatever we've been discussing. Add more and more. Comment below. Like even this, maybe even this idea makes sense. Add to this. It's a project. Add. Work on building Jyotish together. So find a teacher who is in relationship with the teacher. Ideally, not necessary. Ideally, study a system that references or a coherent source. Important. Let your teachers shape your learning indirectly also. So understand who your teacher is reading, what books is he reading. So if your teacher is devoted to Parashara's teaching, then let Rishi Parashara also speak to you directly or indirectly. Reciprocate and communicate with the teacher. This is the most important one in my opinion. Out of all these four, reciprocation and communication with the teacher, the community. So the Jyotish project community, that's the purpose of that. So we have like proper spaces, and it's quite interestingly built. So it would be nice. Like I think it's a good platform, and things are quite well organized, and it give you a good taste of good learning space. So, what it means to receive knowledge properly. Receiving knowledge properly is often misunderstood as simply listening or memorizing. But in the context of Jyotish, it is a far deeper and more active process. So, proper reception involves all of these things: openness without gullibility. So, we don't want to be manipulated ever. Being willing to hear and consider, but not accept blindly. Engaged reflection, sitting with the teachings, questioning, testing, and integrating over time is the key word. Humility to be corrected, being like, it's okay, I can always be wrong. Knowing that your current understanding is provisional and being willing to shift when shown new light. Consistency and patience. Recognizing that depth emerges slowly and through repeated contact and practice. Some basic respect for the teacher, lineage, and the source. Not this demanding respect, a naturally arising respect, actually. Respect that comes from a genuine reverence for something, not just like because they want to be respected and I'll be punished if I don't respect. Not like that, not fear induced respect, but a love induced respect, a devotion, a connection. Like you feel a connection, you're like, you feel this reverence for that. So that's important. And the more this gets cultivated, the more you'll absorb and hear more. You hear your teacher's words more. Uh, you'll absorb more. The more of these things are cultivated and worked with. So it is a relationship, not just a monetary transaction. You cannot buy a teacher's attention. That's not how we should approach it. A lot of people approach it like that. I paid you for a session. Where's my session? Or people approach it, what price, what give price session, I want session. No hello, how are you, no no social grace, or no it's okay, just say hi. I This is what I like about your work, this is how it resonates, may I inquire, or like, can I know about these things, instead of uh price, give price, can you do this for me, right? It's abrupt, and a lot of it is approached like that. A lot of students also are like, oh, I've paid you. So yeah, so though not welcome in the Jyotish project community. I don't want students like that. I don't want to be like that myself. Yeah. So this means that learning Jyotish is not about accumulating facts, but about transforming our perception. It's a qualitative space. It's an emotional, sort of an emotional and intellectual space. It requires presence, sincerity, and commitment. So, when knowledge is received properly, it begins to work on you. It changes your questions, your awareness, your very way of being. When you'll understand something about Jupiter, something about Venus, something about the word Jyotish, it'll make you think about things. It'll have a heartfelt change in you. That is a real point of learning Jyotish, or even anything for that matter. That awe, right? So, rationalists love rationality because it makes them feel good. So, it's still skeptics like doubting. Atheists enjoy, they find pleasure in not in that kind of ideas. You see, it's fundamentally grounded in wanting to emote a better state. So it's important. So the real point is to have a qualitative change in our being. So it cannot be rushed or forced. It is earned step by step through study, reflection, and lived experience. So as you seek teachers, texts, and communities, ask yourself this: am I ready to receive not just information, but a relationship with the discipline, the teacher, the students, so on and so forth? Am I ready to embrace realizations about myself when I'll see my own chart and things like that? If yes, the right teacher, the right text, and the right moment will gradually and naturally become more apparent to you. Already be available, but it'll become more aware, more apparent that okay, yeah, this is so obvious. It's been here, right there. If not, the search will continue, and that too is the part of the path. So let your search continue and test more teachers and teachings and understanding, and that too is part of the process. So thank you so much. I invite you sincerely to the Jyotish Project community and share your thoughts about this lecture and what you found meaningful and enjoyed in this lecture, what kind of things you'd like to see more on this channel. And thank you so much if you stuck around for so long for this lecture. I'll see you in the next lecture.